Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the side event of the Immigration Services Agency of Japan. We are now starting the side event of the Immigration Services Agency of Japan. 私は司会の
Well, I'm ICHIMURA Nobuyuki. And then this seminar may include some technical content, so I would like to just switch over to Japanese language. And if you want to listen to the English, please just tune the translation receiver to channel 1, then you can hear the English translation. And March 11th, this is the day we suffer the great earthquake, Great East Japan earthquake. 10 years ago, there was a big earthquake. The horrendous earthquake happened in the eastern part of Japan. And then we would like to send our condolences to all victims and their families. And then at 14:46 and 2:46 p.m., when the earthquake happened 10 years ago, we would like to just observe 1 minute silence at that moment. And then I would like to just announce at the time, and please just be with us in silence. And nowadays, the number of foreign tourists visiting Japan has been increasing in recent years, and 2018 exceeded 30 million per annum. At the present, there has been a temporary decline due to the impact of COVID-19, but since it is essential to stringently prevent the entry of people who pose a high immigration risk, such as terrorists, the importance of our border measures is increasing more than ever. And the title of this side event is the Strategies for Effective Border Control, at which 5 speakers will be giving a presentation on the examination, inspection, and management of people and things and operation at the airport from their different perspectives of working in the field. And today we have a special guest. It is a great honor for us to have Mr. Kimi ONODA, the Parliamentary Vice Minister of Justice. The Parliamentary Vice Minister has a very high interest in the border control, and for the sake of this particular event, she has come to this venue. As the opening of this event, I would like to ask her to make some comments for us. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kimi ONODA, the Parliamentary Vice Minister of Justice. Thank you for participating in this side event of the Immigration Service Agency of Japan. At the start of the event, allow me to say a few words. The theme of this side event is the strategies for effective border control. Right now, due to the impact of COVID-19, border control is one of the biggest challenges for countries all around the world. The Ministry of Justice is also working on government-wide effort to strengthen the border measures in order to prevent the influx of COVID-19, including the variant strains into Japan. And of course, the border measures are not simply necessary as a measure to deal with the COVID-19. Border measures are crucial to prevent terrorism, to ensure a safe and secure society, and to prevent the terrorists from entering the country at the border. It can be said that the public interest in border control is now greater than ever. Today, I'm looking forward with a great interest to listening to the presentations from people in various positions related to border measures in Japan and to the exchange of opinions. I'm sure that useful discussions will be taking place at this event. And once again, I truly appreciate you taking the time to take part in this event. Thank you very much.
ONODA 政務官。
Thank you very much, Ms. ONODA. Actually, the Parliamentary Vice President is kindly going to stay with us to the end of this session. And then press people, please kindly requested to leave this place. So I would like to introduce the speakers. From the Residency Management and the Support Department of the Immigration Services Agency, we have Mr. Tomoyuki SUNOUCHI, the Director for Intelligence Analysis. And from the Osaka Regional Immigration Services Bureau, we have Mr. Wataru YAMAMOTO, Director of the Kansai Airport District Immigration Service Office. And from the Customs and Tariff Bureau of the Ministry of Finance, we have Mr. Makoto FUKUTA, Director of the Enforcement Division. And from the Central Operation Department of Kansai Airport, we have Mr. Daisuke KOMINE, Manager of the Security Management Group. And also Mr. Hidetaka OMAGARI, Vice Chairperson of the Airline Operations Committee, Kansai International Airport. So first of all, we're going to have a presentation from here. But first of all, before we listen to the presentations from speakers, I would like to give a brief explanation of the framework of the border measures in relation to the COVID-19 countermeasures, which is an important concern in the field of immigration at the present moment. So, about the COVID-19, last year and February last year, the infectious cases and then there's some limitation of travels. Yes, we have been just implementing necessary countermeasures against the COVID-19 pandemic. And at the present moment, we would like to focus on the border measures against the COVID-19 pandemic. And there is some slide. Please refer to the slide with the title, the COVID-19 measures at the border government efforts, and please look at the first page. And COVID-19, how to prevent the COVID-19, prevent from just getting into Japan. Actually, we have 119 countries, regions, which are subject to the denial of landing. And if foreigners, if they have just a history of staying within 40 days prior to the date of applying in these countries, they will be denied entry unless they are special exceptional circumstances. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs just announced the different country regions by different categories. And then level 3, that is the category subject to this border control. And then if there is some special exceptional circumstances, they may be able to get inside of the Japan. The first one is the foreign nationals who hold a status of residence in Japan, and then they have a re-entry permission. And the second one is foreign nationals who are to be given permission due to personal circumstances, such as circumstances that require humanitarian consideration. And number 3, that is based on bilateral agreement under some certain conditions. There are some special business reasons that they have to come into Japan. And number 3, particularly 14 home quarantine, that is called the residence track, and then 14-day quarantine within a limited range of behavior that is allowed to these people, if that one is called a business track. And then number 4, that is foreign nationals from all countries, regions, under the who are allowed to Japan under the special just conditions, particularly just assurance by the sponsors that may be private companies and organizations. So these four conditions are just taken as measures against COVID-19, particularly at the border. But still, at the present moment, actually, under the circumstances of COVID-19 pandemic inside, outside of Japan, the number 3, business track and the residence track, and number 4, that is the assurance by the sponsor private companies or organizations. All these people under these categories, and number 3 and number 4, that is now suspended. So that means there is no allowance for the people, no permit or permission given to the people who are under number 3 and number 4 categories. So that means number 1, that means re-entry to Japan, and number 2, if there is a circumstances, humanitarian consideration, such as the person who is a spouse of Japanese national. So these people are allowed to enter Japan. Next page, please. And if somebody wants to get inside in Japan, what kind of measures are taken that is explained here? Japanese nationals and re-entry foreign nationals, and also newly entering foreign nationals under some specialist circumstances. I would like to explain this part. On the left-hand side of the material, that is the countermeasures before the discovery of a variant of COVID-19. And then before variant COVID-19, if somebody wants to come into Japan from the restricted or designated countries and the regions, at least they need to have the negative COVID-19 test that has been taken 17 hours or shorter before the entry. And then the document, a certificate, need to be provided or submitted at the quarantine office at the airport. And for Japanese nationals, at the quarantine office, the COVID-19 test is just conducted for them. And anyway, these people are just required to be on a 14-day quarantine and are not allowed to use public transportation. And at the present moment, this is the current situation with a variant COVID-19 discovered already. And as you see here, after variant COVID-19, we just stricken the countermeasures. And then from January 9th, all Japanese nationals and the re-entry foreign nationals who just come to Japan at just a quarantine office, they are just required to show the certificate of negative COVID-19 72 hours or earlier. And then they just put the necessary documents and then allowed into Japan. And also, they are restricted to use restricted in the use of public transportation, and they are just required to keep the track of their movement to travel within Japan. If they are just found to violate this kind of rules, their identities may be just put into public, or sometimes the residential or a visa that may be suspended sometimes. And then UK and South Africa, and in total of a total of 17 countries where the variant COVID-19 are discovered. The Japanese nationals and the re-entry foreign nationals who come to Japan, at least 3 days. There are some special accommodations provided by the government. They are required to stay there within 30 days, and at 3 days, if they are just found negative for COVID-19, then they can go home. But still, they need to just have a home quarantine. That is the COVID-19 border measures we do. And that is an outline so far about the border control or measures. In order to prevent the expansion of COVID-19, just a pandemic, or the just stakeholders or the relevant Japanese government agencies work together to just strictly control the pandemic. And then, of course, we are strictly watching what is happening to the COVID-19 pandemic. Japanese nationals and the re-entering foreign nationals, and all the Japanese people who live in Japan, we would like to just make the risk of these people as minimum as possible with this kind of border measures. And as the just the director of a border management division, I would like to do my best to just prevent the expansion of the virus pandemic, working together with the relevant agencies. So that's all for me. And then next, I would like, let's move on to the presentations. And first,
からのプレゼンテーションです。須之内さん、よろしくお願いします。
はい、出入国在留管理庁
Central Government Agency. Hello, my name is SUNOUCHI. I'm from the Immigration Services Agency from the government, mostly using the information and the border control from Japan. And now, so currently, thanks to the COVID-19, the international people going back and forth is getting less. And if you see, in various countries, there is a terrorism still occurring, and we need to, there is no reduction in the terrorism countermeasures. It's always needed. And how the main government policies on preventing terrorism and regarding the immigration check, the strength we would take collecting fingerprints, so enhanced immigration examinations, and mandatory submission of name list of crew members and passengers in advance, and utilization of Interpol's stolen and lost travel documents database, and the PNRs, like the promotion of electronic acquisition of PNRs, strengthen collection and analysis of border information. So we are in Immigration Services Agency, we are trying to control the border control as such. And next slide, please take a look. So the border control is like the people who try to get into Japan, the passengers, when they, before arrival, that stage, and when they arrived and the passengers arrived and taking the immigration check. So there are two stages here. And the first, before coming into the, arriving to Japan. So 2007 February in Japan, all the vessels and aircrafts, all the passengers and crews, the IDs, Advanced Passenger Information, what's called API, that information is mandatory now. And this API of the crew and what's so-called blacklist, the people who you have to be cautious about by matching it up. Before vessels or aircrafts arrives Japan, the people, the dangerous or blacklisted people, we can grasp it, and we could have a severe immigration check. And 2015 January, and then to the airline companies, before they arrive, the airplane coming, the passenger name record, so-called PNR, is now mandated to provide it. And we are now not mandated, but we had the system to allow to request such PNRs. So the passport information was API, that was ID. On the other hand, PNR, including these information as APIs, but boarding passes, the reservers and reservers person and the reservation contents, and the person's belongings, what they are bringing in is, and also the boarding information. Those information is included. And 2016. PNR is from, we started to obtain that in electronically, PNR. And we have high analysis on it, and it reflect that to the immigration check using this information. And organizational system, 2015 October, these kind of information collection and analysis is the core organization. So in the Ministry of Justice, we have this intelligence center. And in this center, immigration and information sharing is promoted. So Immigration Control Intelligence Center, and we collect information. At the same time, we conduct analysis. And so the immigration check, not limited to Japan, but anywhere else in other countries, I think it should be the same. But the passenger arrived Japan, and we would, in the country, they would check the passports and the purpose of visit. You directly interview. Those are what we do. That's the basics. And there is no difference than that. We haven't changed that. But currently, even before the passenger's arrival or the crew's arrival, we would analyze the information obtained prior, and risk analysis and evaluation is done. And we consider this is a very important thing, and we are trying to proactively leverage this system. Next is, once they arrive, the passengers or the people arrive to your country, the immigration check after the arrival. In Japan, 2007 November, since then, the foreigners, when foreigners come into Japan, the fingerprint and facial image is going to be taken, and we check that in the immigration check. Just name, we would cross-check. In the past, we were using their name to cross-check with a blacklist, but now fingerprints and the facial image, we would check the blacklist like terrorists. In the past, people who has like the arrested records, we would check all those fingerprints. And the false passport usage and getting into people, getting into Japan, we were able to now identify such person. 2016 October, since then, in the immigration check, those image taken, acquisition of facial photographs, and we cross-check with the facial image with a blacklist like terrorist. And so IDs and the terrorists, we don't have detailed information like the fingerprint. Now we can, and there are some cases last year we had difficulty figuring out because lack of information on the terrorist. But terrorists with only facial image, we identified the terrorist and prevented him or her from coming into Japan. And 2009 August, since then, the ICPOs, the lost or stolen travel documents database, we introduced that database, and leveraging that database information to when the immigration check, when it's stolen or lost travel documents database recorded, and we leverage that, and people who try to use those lost and stolen travel documents and in improvising that you are the different passenger. This is the border controls, very stringent control. 10,464 people were rejected from coming into Japan. This kind of effect was obtained. So, in Immigration Service Agency of Japan, the Japanese members and the people who's foreign people who visited Japan could have a safe and secure life, and those people not undesirable to come in through the border. So we will try to do the stringent border control to secure the safe and secure life of all the people in Japan. Sunouchi-san, thank you very much. Next is the presentation of the perspective of Regional Immigration Bureau. Mr. Yamamoto, please.
I am Yamamoto. I would like to talk about status of foreign nationals entering international at Kansai International Airport. The Kansai Airport District Immigration Office of Osaka Region Immigration Bureau will explain the border measures. A number of foreign people who are coming from the Kansai International Airport is on the rise. But the number of people who are coming into is only 1 million, a drop of about 88% compared to the year earlier due to COVID-19. However, soon we expect this trend is going to be mitigated. But today we would like to focus on our activity before 2019, when the number of foreign nationals entering Japan was on the rise. In 2019, the number of foreign nationals entering Japan at airports and seaports throughout the country was about 31.19 million, the highest number ever. The number of foreign nationals entering at Kansai International Airport also reached a record high of approximately 8.38 million, an increase of about 10% compared to the previous year and about 2.6 times that of 2014, 5 years ago. The ratio of the number of foreign nationals entering Japan from Kansai International Airport to the total number of foreign nationals entering Japan is also on the rise. It was about 22% in 2014, but it reached about 25% in 2018 and about 27% in 2019. One feature of Kansai International Airport is the percentage of foreign nationals from the Asian region is high. Looking at the breakdown by nationality and region of the foreign nationals in 2019, foreign nationals from the top 5 countries, regions of China, mainland, South Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Thailand accounted for about more than 80% of the total. Incidentally, the number of foreign nationals illegally staying beyond their authorized period of stay throughout the country was about 83,000 as of July 1st, 2020, which was in the middle of the COVID pandemic, a slight decrease of about 0.3% compared to January 1st, 2020, and it is still at a high level. By nationality, Asia countries occupy the top position in the order of Vietnam, South Korea, and China. In addition, the number of foreign nationals who underwent the deportation procedure due to violation of the Immigration Control Act in 2019 before COVID was approximately 19,000 in Japan, an increase of about 90% from the previous year. By nationality, Vietnam accounted for about 34% on the total, followed by China and Thailand. And as with the foreign nationals illegally staying beyond their authorized period of stay, Asian countries accounted for the top countries. In response to this situation, the Immigrant Service Agency of Japan carried out stringent immigration examinations using the various kinds of information such as API, PNR, and personal identification information, which were introduced earlier by the Immigration Information Analysts of the Immigration Services Agency in order to reduce the number of foreign nationals illegally staying beyond their authorized period of the stay. As a result, the number of foreign nationals who were denied landing in Japan in 2019 was about 11,000, an increase of about 16% the previous year. Approximately 84% of them were cases in which they were suspicious about the purpose of entry, such as being unable to clearly explain the place where they intend to stay. By nationality, the order was China, Thailand, and Turkey. At Kansai International Airport, we maximize use of the various kinds of information mentioned earlier, and with regard to those foreign nationals who illegally stay beyond their authorized period of stay after entering Japan from Kansai International Airport, we analyze the aspects of the landing application, the place of issue of the passport and visa, gender and age, etc. in detail, and narrow down the application for foreign nationals who require carefully examination. As a result, the number of foreign nationals who were denied landing at Kansai International Airport in 2019 was 2,022, a significant increase of about 40% from the previous year. In particular, the number of Chinese nationals accounted for more than half of the total, which is about 3 times the previous year. Looking at the rate of occurrence of foreign nationals illegally staying beyond their authorized period of stay by airport pertaining to the status of residence of temporary visitor, Kansai International Airport has remained at an extremely low number, and it can be said that accurate and effective examinations are being conducted. In the COVID pandemic, measures have been taken to deny landing of foreign nationals who have stayed in a certain country or region unless specially extenuation in circumstances exist, and due to the sharp decrease in the number of landing applications and the difficulty in foreign nationals submitting landing applications purporting to be sightseeing over the visiting relatives, the number of foreign nationals denied landing at Kansai International Airport in 2020 was only 205. In Japan, in order to ensure that a person with a connection to a terrorist are prevented from entering the country, foreign nationals have been required since November 2007 to provide personal identification information, fingerprints, etc. at the time of the immigration examination for foreign nationals, and this information is cross-checked against the blacklist. This is not simply limited to passengers, but since there is a possibility that some crew members may adversely affect the public stay, careful examination are also being conducted. In addition, at Kansai International Airport, in order to prevent the use of forged and altered passport by people with a connection to terrorists, we endeavor to uncover counterfeit documents, and in 2019, we conducted more than 20,000 documents for forensic examination. In addition, in order to quickly detect to spot suspicious persons such as those with connected to terrorists, we have also been focusing on patrol in access restricted areas, etc. And in 2019, we conducted patrol on about 14,000 occasions. Moreover, we also conducted training relating terrorists throughout talks given by outside lecturers. Most of the foreign nationals entering Japan from Kansai International Airport are lawful travel, so it is necessary to realize smooth immigration examinations as well as strict immigration control. The Immigration Services Agency of Japan has been proactively interesting equipment that use advanced technology so as to facilitate the immigration examination, and Kansai International Airport also use this equipment. Fingerprint recognition gates were introduced in September 2009, and currently 20 units are in operation. This gate can be used by Japanese nationals and some foreign nationals, but the number of users have been decreasing in recent years because fingerprints must be registered in advance. Kansai International Airport, it was used by about 300,000 people in 2019 before the COVID pandemic. The facial recognition gates were introduced in July 2018, and 45 units are currently in operation. Actually, they were only available for the departure and return procedure of Japanese nationals, but from September 2019, use has been expanded to include a departure procedure for foreign nationals who entered the country for the purpose of sightseeing. At Kansai International Airport, about 80% Japanese nationals departing from and returning to Japan use. Also, before the COVID pandemic, the gate were used by 50 to 60% of foreign nationals departing from Japan. By utilizing the above equipment, the waiting time for immigration Kansai International Airport seen improvement. The achievement rate of keeping the wait time for an immigration examination within 20 minutes in January 2020, when the number of foreign nationals entering Japan exceeded the same month of the previous year, was about 78%. In addition to the frequent disinfection of the fingerprint recognition gates and facial recognition gates, through measures are being implemented against COVID-19, such as acrylic partitions being installed at the examination booth to prevent droplet infection, and staff were wearing masks, gloves, and face shield during the entry. In Japan, the Tokyo Olympics and Paralympics Games will be held this year, and the Osaka World Exposition will be held in 2025. Kansai Airport District Immigration Office will continue to strengthen its border measures so that these large-scale events can be held safely and securely. Thank you very much for your attention.
はい、
Thank you very much, Mr. Yamamoto. Next is presentation from the perspective of customs, which is responsible for the inspection of things, Mr. Fukuda. But perhaps in the midst of Mr. Fukuta's presentation, when it comes to 2:45 p.m., we have to just ask Mr. Fukuda to stop for just a silent praying for the earthquake victims. So Mr. Fukuda, please. Yes, my name is Fukuda, and I'm a Director of Enforcement Division. Thank you very much. Director of Enforcement Division, Customs and Tariff Bureau, Ministry of Finance in Japan. I appreciate having a chance to speak to you today. I'm here to talk about the counterterrorism measures in Japan customs. Please have a look at the slide 1. First, I'm going to talk about the threat of terrorism in Japan. The first bullet. Mega terrorism has not been has not taken place in Japan recently, but as you know, Tokyo Olympic and Paralympic Games are going to be held next actually the summer this year. And terrorists recognize effective propaganda by terrorism acts, and in this meaning, they might act during events, and this may be a very good opportunity for them to do something. Basically, Japan is told as a peaceful country, but the terrorists do not care about it, and terrorism might be occurred because Japan hosts these games. And the second bullet. Under these circumstances, customs interdiction of goods and substances related to terrorism at the border is effective in preventing terrorism acts. So we think, actually that is a highlighted part, so we think the need for continuous counterterrorism measures by customs is growing. And please have a look at the slide 2. I'm going to introduce the concept of intelligence at the counterterrorism measures in Japan customs. Of course, our purpose is to deter any actions like terrorism. We try to deter terrorism by maintaining a control over prohibited imports like goods-related terrorism by getting and analyzing information and using inspection equipment. And for example, what is prohibited imports as not allowed to bring to Japan legally? The answer is just indicated here: firearms and explosives. And information is used for exposure, of course, but it is also used as intelligence. And then the passengers and the crews. What is the risk of terrorism occurred by passengers and crews? We can think the risk as whether they are ex-combat or homegrown terrorists, lone wolf terrorists or not. And we use information from relevant agencies for control over goods at the border too. And the next one is items evoking terrorism. What is the item invoking terrorism, even though it is not prohibited in imports? The answer is chemicals. That can be materials of explosives, i.e. the manufacturing equipment, the flags, and the publications of terrorist organizations. That information is so important for intelligence of whole government, so we share information with the relevant agencies. And I'm going to introduce some items which just suggest some terrorism which are found by customs inspection. And please look at slide 3. This is not exact picture. Just I want to show the simple illustration. The upper left one, and that is a sword found in international post. We just notify the addressee of the need of approval by the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry. Then sword was sent back to the sender by the offer of the addressee. And the upper right one, that is a rocket launcher found in international post. We notify the police, and the police judged it was processed so that it could not be used actually, so it was gone through customs formalities or procedures. And the lower left one, that is a protective suit found in international post. Well, this may be just some non-terrorist terrorism-related one under this coronavirus crisis, but at that time we thought that this may be quite a terroristic, so I reported to the police. The right one is a drone found in air cargo. We cannot simply say it may evoke terrorism, but terrorism sometimes occurred with the drone abroad, so checking the purpose of use at the clearance is important. And slide 4, the first one, that is enhancing advanced information collection analysis. For example, the number of permissions of imported goods is about 40 million, and the number of tourists from abroad is about 30 million. For effective and efficient control over goods and passengers in these numbers, we take the control method like getting information of them in addressees and screening. And the second one is additional deployment of inspection equipment. Considering effective and efficient inspection and safety equipment that can be checked, their weapons or not without destroying goods is useful. And we deploy CT X-ray cargo inspection system and the TDS trace detection system additionally. Third one is just enhanced cooperation among relevant agencies and private sectors. We consider cooperation is essential for counterterrorism. To enhance cooperation, we do joint drill, control and exchange information with the foreign customs, and conclude MOU concerning cooperation on the prevention of smuggling with the relevant industry associations. And from next slide, I'm going to introduce these measures with some examples. This is about advanced information. Just an illustration showing the advanced information. As you see here, about the passengers from abroad, customs analyze and use PNR, the passenger name record, provided by airlines around the clock, and do screening to find a suspicious person. This PNR is just used for analysis 24 hours. And that is not included here. About imported goods, we just utilize shipment information reported by companies for the terror control. And please look at the slide 6. I think it's about time to just 2:45. So after this slide, I would like to stop my presentation. Going back to slide 6, here, these are inspection equipment as counter-terrorism measures. At the customs, to find and analyze suspicious goods like a bomb that may be used for terrorism, we supervise with CT X-ray cargo inspection system, and the TDS that analyzes particle and explosives detector. Analyze particles and explosives. Analyze particle explosives and explosive detector dogs are used as well. And we have installed the new inspection equipment in recent years. For example, a CT X-ray cargo inspection system that has function of automatic identification and picture analysis, enables effective inspection of luggage. And I would like to stop here for a few minutes. Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Fukuda. It's about we have to just stop presentation here, and we are going to have the time to 46 p.m. 11 March to 46 p.m. 10 years have passed since the Great East Japan earthquake. At the time, big earthquake and a tsunami happened, and they victimized many people. There were huge casualties in a quite wide range in Tohoku or east part of Japan. Victims and their families, we would like to just send our deep condolences to them, and then observe a 1 minute silence. So please be seated, and let's pray together.
Well,
thank you very much. So let's go back to the presentation of Fukuta. Mr. Fukuta, please. Yes, thank you very much. I would like to restart my presentation. Well, slide 7. This is a picture of joint counterterrorism drill with relevant agencies. Cooperation among relevant agencies is essential to control over terrorism. To strengthen cooperation, we exchange information and hold the counterterrorism drill together. At this time of photo, we did the drill under the scenario that the bomb was found, discovered by the with the large-scale X-ray inspection system. And besides, we assume many situations that terrorism-related goods or a suspicious person found at airport or seaport, and hold drills under those scenarios with other relevant agencies. And please have a look at the slide 8. To ask relevant industry associations for information related to illicit drugs and terrorism goods, we assign the MOU regarding prevention of smuggling these items. They support customs by providing information and enlightenment activities. And the first one, that is about MOU related to the inhibited goods, and this MOU this MOU was signed in 1994, and then We strengthened the cooperative relationship in 2019 by adding the perspective of counterterrorism and concluding MOU. This is because many important events are going to be held in Japan. So this is to enhance the mutual cooperation. And at the present moment, there are 11 MOU between Customs and the Tariff Bureau, MOF, and relevant industry associations, and we promote a reinforcement of cooperation with them. So that is the gist of counterterrorism measures in Japan. We must deter terrorism that threaten the peace of the people's life in Japan. We rank enhancing customs border control as one of the biggest tasks and try to enhance and speed up counterterrorism measures by making the best use of information, inspection equipment, and cooperating with relevant agencies and the industry associations. That concludes my presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much, Mr. Fukuta.
Next is a presentation from the perspective of an airport operating company. Mr. KOMINE, the floor is yours. Hello. Hello, my name is KOMINE. I'm in charge of aviation security at the Central Operation Department of Kansai Airports. Today, I would like to talk about passenger procedure facilitation and security inspection efforts at Kansai Airport. Kansai Airports began the operation of Kansai Airport and Osaka Itami Airport in 2016 and has operated 3 airports since 2018 when Kobe Airport was added into the mix. So there are 3 airports, but under the one airport concept, we are grateful that we managed to welcome 50 million passengers across the 3 airports in 2019. Kansai Airport opened in 1994. It consists of 2 artificial islands that have reclaimed from the sea with 2 runways of 3,500 meters and 4,000 meters. Out of the 3 airports, this is the only airport that can accommodate international flights and used by nearly 32 million passengers in 2019. Osaka Itami Airport was the oldest of the 3 airports, which opened in 1939. So until the Kansai Airport opened, international flights were available, but now it's only used for the domestic flights. So from the Osaka city, it's the closest. Being the closest to Osaka city, it is the bustling hub airport for domestic flights. The newest of the 3, which is Kobe Airport, opened in 2006. It is famous for Kobe beef, so it's in the airport of Kobe City. So it's 2019, 3 million passengers used this airport last year. Today, in Kansai Airport, the customers' passenger procedure facilitation, I would like to talk about that at Kansai Airport. So a few years ago, when the number of inbound passengers skyrocketed, the passengers at Kansai Airport had to wait more than an hour at peak times from their arrival at the departure floor to the airport to the time they reached to the duty-free area. So exceeding 1 hour waiting time was there at that time. So as an airport operation company, we consider that's not a good thing. So as we just mentioned here, so we had the fast travel concept based on that. We try to facilitate the passenger procedures. So fast travel is until arrival to the airport, to the boarding gate, to those various procedures. We would put the cutting-edge technology and system, introducing it, and overall facilitation of the passenger procedures, so that we could satisfy our passenger as an airport company. So boarding procedure, check-in kiosks for check-in procedures, self-baggage drop-off machines, and more efficient security inspection devices were introduced, and we promote that. And overall waiting time, we try to grasp that information. And we started to manage to improve our passenger flow. First of all, the CAS, or self-check-in, was introduced. Then the self-bag drop, so that's automatic or self drop-in of the bag. And then the overall passenger flow management system was introduced. Then, the automatic gate before the security. And the smart security was introduced. This is automated system of inspection system. We worked on these projects as Kansai airports sets the goal of letting customer pass from the airport departure lobby to the duty-free shop area. We aim to have them go through within 10 minutes. That's our target. So by implementing these systems, we started this implementation of these systems since 2017, first in 2017. We introduced a passenger flow management system to understand the overall situation. We also made it possible to scan boarding passes at the security checkpoint entrance and keep records of passengers passing through. In 2018, we repositioned the self-check-in kiosk, which had been installed before but was not used frequently, to create an easy-to-use layout, and brought it the first smart lane in Japan. So we were the first to introduce the first smart lane in Japan for security inspections. And 2020 March, since then, we have been launching self-bag drop sequentially. In July, e-gates were implemented at the entrance of security checkpoints. So let me briefly explain each device. First, let me start with the system we introduced first, which is the passenger flow management. The device uses its sensor to measure or count the passenger's number and passing times and their movements. But by this sensor, we can automatically determine how busy any given area is and display each security checkpoint's crowd condition. So this system, we are further expanding this system to cover not only the front of security checkpoints, but throughout the airport terminal, including check-in counters and duty-free shop areas. Next, let me talk about the self-check-in kiosks. So in the past, people at the counter had to fill the passport information manually, but we aim to shorten the time by having the information pre-filled by the passenger. In 2018, we completed the expansion and installation of this device at all the counters. Self-bag drop is a device for passengers to drop off their baggage by themselves after completing their self-check-in. This is such device. We believe that we can build smooth flow without passengers having to line up at the staffed counters. because they don't have to do it manually. It has been introduced sequentially since March 2020. And so once people finish the bag drop, they will move on to the security checkpoint. And before that, so by human eyes, they were checking the boarding passes manually. But first, the scanning device, we installed it, and at the first stage, having the machine make the identification. Just by doing so, the smoother boarding passes checking could be available. And to further develop this process, we introduced a system called eGate. So in the immigration checking, this is already, similar things are already introduced, but we have the automatic gate to check the boarding passes automatically. And we install the automatic gates that are similar to the gates used in immigration. So these fast travel, this project, in the future, we want to have a one ID concept. We want to promote that, and we plan for it. From the check-in to the security check, passing the security check, and going through the boarding gates, we want to centrally control these steps. So the facial ID recognition, facial recognition or biological recognition, by combining it, each time, the passport and boarding pass, you don't have to show it each time. Just facial recognition, and you could smoothly go through these gates or steps. We want to develop such system in the future. This is still only a concept, but gradually we are going to introduce to achieve this project. So there are a blank part here, no images. This part, as you can see, this immigration check is the step here lacking. So in one ID, in this system, after the boarding pass is handled and check-in, and before you get on the airplane, there will be a series of one system. This is based on such concept. So once this concept is completed and realized, the airport transport moving around the steps could be done much in a much simplified manner. Next, in the security check, I want to deep dive a little more. So as I mentioned earlier, the Kansai airport is the first in Japan to introduce a smart lane system. This smart lane, this X-ray inspection unit. So there's a belt conveyor is set and installed before and after the X-ray inspection unit. The baggage laid out tray automatically convey that into the X-ray device inspection unit. And they would automatically convey to under the X-ray inspections unit. And by introducing this unit, the processed capacity we improved from the 40% than more so efficiently than the existing system. In addition to that, it's something unique for international flights, but. And the international flights, currently, you're not allowed to bring in liquids, as you know. And still, in the summertime, especially in the summer season, people tend to bring the PET bottles and tumblers filled in liquids, like people from overseas guests, inbound guests. And each time, we have to open up the tumblers and throw away the liquid, and then we check. So it took a long time. So to avoid at the time of the inspection. So before getting into the inspection zone, we try to have the passengers being ready. So at the entrance, in front of the entrance of the inspection, we have some spaces that you can just place that you can dispose of liquids before getting into the inspection. This was pretty much effective. And it took like an hour or so that you have to be lining up and waiting for an hour until you reach to the inspection. But it's before COVID-19. It's in 2019, which is within 10 minutes of going through the entire step we were able to almost completely achieve like 10 minutes within 10 minutes. So having this, since we've been working like the checking security checks to be done comfortably, so we're trying to survey it and introducing the cutting edge device. Not only that, but the inspectors training we also focused on. And so that we could conduct more effectively for the security check. And the customer satisfaction or passenger satisfaction should be improved. And we invited consultants or the expert in Japan, overseas, and conduct trainings. And the inspection devices or security check devices, not only the smart lane, but limited to that. But as you know, people who a frequent flyer may know, but from the PCs and the electronic devices, you have to bring out that from the bag. That was often the request. But Kansai Airport, our device, so you don't have to pull out your electronic device like PCs. Now we introduce such device now. And this year's Olympics and Paralympics, heading for that, the security check enhancement is also being promoted. And the threats to aviation security was like firearms and knives was what you're concerning of security, but now the threats are explosives. That's the trend. And we will have some, the device is more sensitive to explosives, and the CT type inspection is now, we're trying to promote to introduce that, to enhance the security checks. So, in the previous slide, I think I shared it with you, but as an airport operating company, after the arrival to the airport until you would get to the getting on the plane, that would be like within 10 minutes. We want to keep that in 10 minutes, not any longer. So introducing cutting edge device and the inspector or checkers training, but speedy and comfortable check to be done. Not only that, but also for sure, the accurate inspection by providing it, providing the sense of security and safety. That is what we are trying to do by promoting fast travel. We could conduct a entire airport. We could provide a good service, a smooth service, and the total waiting time will be reduced. And the customer or the passenger could increase the time that the passengers, the time that can be spent in the airport. I want to increase that instead of having them waiting. That is all. Thank you for your attention. Mr. KOMINE, thank you very much. Last but not the least, finally, the presentation from the airline's perspective. Mr. OMAGARI, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. My name is OMAGARI, Vice Chairperson of the Airline Operations Committee, Kansai International Airport. So from the viewpoint of airline company, I would like to make this presentation. Presentation divided into 3 parts. I am a member of AOC, KICS. So my presentation focus on the incidents that happened in KICS. In September 2019, we introduced facial recognition, so we would like to talk about that. And second, how we how difficulty we are, suffering from the treating the deportee passengers. And the third point, we are exchanging information with the relevant parties, so we would like to touch upon in detail. So let me begin. So regarding facial recognition automated gates, after Haneda Airport or Tokyo International Airport and Narita International Airport, Kansai International Airport, has also introduced this one. And in 2019, September 25th, from onwards, the departure of foreigners holding temporary visitors status entering Japan or on a sightseeing purpose have also been added to the target of the procedure. In the past, the departure immigration entrance often had to be limited due to passenger congestion, also causing entrance limitation of the departure safety inspection during the peak seasons at the year-end, New Year holidays, and summer vacation. However, after the introduction of facial recognition automated gates, from 2019 to 2000, we did not have any entrance limitation and realized a smooth movement on the part of visitors, guests, and also our airline staff as well. Also, at the departure immigration, many multilingual staffs have been deployed, guiding passengers smoothly to facial recognition automated gates. At the same time, passengers who are not covered by the automated gates are guided to booths assigned with the immigration officers. This allows the immigration officers to take more time examining departing passengers, maintaining the strict quality of the inspection. Undergoing such strict inspection, some passengers are denied entry to Japan upon arrival and receive deportation orders because of various reasons such as past criminal records, inadequate travel documents. There had been cases in other airports in Japan that those deportee passengers tried to escape while being transferred from the departure waiting facility to landing inspection site. Due to such incidents, we have received an order from Kansai Airport District Immigration Office to assign more airline staffs than the number of deportee passengers. We understand that these are necessary measures to prevent passengers' illegal entry to Japan, and airlines should pursue our obligations to repatriate deportee passengers by tightening security against those deportee passengers. So we, airline company, is further strengthening border control measures. On the other hand, it is true that we are having difficulties to secure the necessary human or number of staffs, exceeding the number of deportee passengers among limited airline staffs. In fact, there were cases that the airline could not secure enough number of staffs exceeding that of the deportee passengers, and staff had to make round trips to escort deportee passengers, being divided into several groups. Also, the transfer of deportee passengers from Terminal 2 to Terminal 1, riding on transfer buses requires more time for the accompanying airline staffs. Regardless of those difficulties, we, operating airlines, are determined to continue making efforts to prevent illegal entry of passengers. In the end, I would like to introduce an example of information sharing among the Immigration Services Agency and the operating airlines in Kansai International Airport. In 2017, talk meeting in Kansai Airport was hosted by the Ministry of Justice, with the Justice Minister Yoko Kamikawa participating. This was a workshop among Osaka Prefecture Government, Kansai Airports, operating airlines, corporations, and students discussing various issues on the theme of what we expect of the immigrations under the situation of inbound foreign sightseeing passengers increasing. Not only in event cases, but we would like to keep on contributing to smooth departure and arrival immigration inspections in collaboration with the Immigration and Immigration Bureau for strict border control measures. That's all from myself. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much, Mr. Omawari. So that's all for a presentation session.
引き続き
So from here, we would like to have some panel discussion. And now we have received presentations from 5 people, and then in order to implement the border control, the information exchange and the collaboration among other organizations that is going on for the purpose of the border measures. However, the terrorism is still striking throughout the world, and the stricter border measures will be also required in the future. Therefore, we would like to ask your thoughts from the perspective of what method we can employ to implement even more effective border measures. First, let us think about utilization of information. Number of efforts were introduced in the presentation on utilizing information. In recent times, when information technology is advancing along with the digitalization of information, the function of intelligence are extremely important, and their importance will increase even further in the future. So I'd like to ask a question to Mr. SUNOUCHI. You explained that Immigration Intelligence Center analyzes information collected in Japan and other countries. The simple existence of information in itself is unlikely to have any useful benefits. So what do you think is important in order to able to conduct useful information analysis? And could you tell us if you have any challenges towards the future? Yes, thank you very much. We believe that in order to be able to conduct useful information analysis, we need to focus on certain aspects in each of the 3 stages of collection, accumulation, and analysis information. First, in terms of collecting information, it is essential to be familiar with the actual situation in Japan and other countries, correctly identifying the required information, and then to collect accurate information from the relevant organization in Japan and other countries. And in terms of accumulating information, the collected information should be organized in a way that takes into account the links between the individual pieces of information and stored in a highly convenient form. And with regard to analyzing information, we believe that it is important to conduct an analysis based on diverse information as possible. So in addition, we also believe that it is essential to develop human resources with high-level skills in analyzing information, which is the foundation for such information analysis. Well, how to just extract most useful information from a huge volume of information, for that kind of a purpose, intelligence is more and more important. So towards the future, or to this end, we believe the challenge is to further expand and strengthen cooperation with the relevant organizations in Japan and other countries, and to ensure a more sophisticated analysis, which will include testing new methods of analysis as well. Thank you very much. And then I'd like to think about smooth yet strict immigration examination. We obviously have to ensure that terrorists and anyone else illegally trying to enter Japan is rigorously blocked from entering at the border. On the other hand, most of the foreign nationals who want to come to Japan are law-abiding people, and such people need to be given prompt permission to enter Japan. So I would like to ask something, Mr. Yamamoto, as well as the well, in order to have a smooth and also strict entry examination, the fingerprint recognition gates and the financial recognition gates, these technologies are available. But if there is anything else you do, could you just elaborate a little bit more with some examples, if possible? To ensure stringent immigration examinations, aside from reliable cross-checking of the data against the blacklist, and immigration inspectors are required to have such skills as being able to identify suspicious persons through effective use of a variety of information, such as API and the PNRs, and accurate detection of forged or altered passports that are likely to be used by terrorists or other suspected persons. And Kansai Airport District Immigration Service offices, utilizing the time created by travel ban during the COVID-19 pandemic, we have been strengthening the training explaining the background to various kinds of intelligence, particularly the information and method used in forging an alternate passport, as well as techniques for effective interviews, and have been striving to raise the skills. Meanwhile, in order to ensure smooth immigration examinations, we have been endeavoring to rationalize, streamline the individual examination, but there are limits to what we can achieve. And it is important to maximize the use of different types of equipment brought into facilitated examination. The Kansai Airport District Immigration Service Office operated fingerprint recognition and facial recognition, as explained before, but as well as these gates, devices commonly known as biocards are being deployed to speed up the acquisition of fingerprint and facial photographs by utilizing the time normally spent waiting in line for landing examination. And the operation of these biocards has had the effect of shortening the time spent waiting in line for examination, reducing the number of steps at the landing examination booth itself, and contributing to the ability of the immigration inspectors to focus even more on examination. Well, thank you very much. And these days, when huge numbers of people and things are crossing national borders, a crucial concern and a very important theme is to facilitate the examination while maintaining strictness. This does not just simply apply to immigration control. So I would like to ask Mr. FUKUTA, in immigration control, fingerprint recognition and facial recognition, all these techniques are just used to work in examination process, but that is also to just smooth and then smooth the immigration examination and reduce the workload on the immigration officers. And that is the concept of this kind of the technologies which are now available. So my question is, what is the concept behind the efforts of customs to achieve both strict crackdowns and the prompt custom clearances?
適正かつ公平な関税と
So
厳格な取り締まりと迅速な
Well, the three duties of customers are seen to be yes, of course, all these missions need to be just fulfilled. And in order to do that, yes, we need to enhance and strengthen the system for people and the things. And then we need to acquire and utilize advanced information and strengthen cooperation with the relevant organizations and industry groups. Specifically, for example, we conduct X-ray inspection of container using large-scale X-ray inspection equipment and implement accurate analysis by using three-dimensional images obtained through use of CTX array cargo inspection system. And also, sometimes we need to narrow down the cargo for testing or inspection, and then just make the operation more effective, working together with other people. So the low-risk people and low-risk cargo may just enter Japan rather smoothly. However, the goods and the people with a higher suspicion risk may be well controlled, and that is one way is to just secure the control of the just entry into Japan.
ここで視点を
And here, let's change the perspective. So safety and secure promotion, strict inspection is important. It's a social requirement as well. But security check and inspections could impose extreme burden, then the user would or the passenger will not understand that, and it could interfere the activity of the airport operation as well. We have to keep the passenger satisfaction, and we have to conduct the strict inspection as well. So for an airport company, so the user's satisfaction, so is it an important index as well as the strict inspection, keeping the satisfaction and having a strict inspection? What is necessary? Please answer. Yes. Thank you very much. Generally speaking, what I would like to tell you is, like our airport company, safety, secure, that is the first priority when we operate our airport. And safe and secure airport, that's a prerequisite. But but adding to that, what kind of additional service could we provide? How could we make the passenger use in a satisfactory situation? That's always what we think. So in Kansai Airport, so as I've introduced in my presentation, cutting-edge inspection device is introduced, and do the accurate and precise inspection and checkups. At the same time, reduce the stress of the passengers. That is our target. In addition to that, and the security check is strict. The security check is done, but when the passenger enters, what would be the stress for the customer or the passengers? So they're not really sure and concerned because they don't know what would be checked or how long are we going to be kept waiting. So the waiting time, like you can pass, or they'll be ready to accept the passenger around in like how many minutes, or in prior you have to throw this because you cannot bring that particular item into the airport. So reduce alleviate the things you have to do at the inspection or the security checkup. That's what we work for. In addition to that, the customers, the safety check, security check, the checkers handling is also important. But training for inspection or security check is important. But if the inspector or the checker is frustrated, then customer will never be satisfied. So the security checker or the inspectors handling will be improved. That's one of our mission as well. That's all. Thank you very much. And now, we would like to introduce a different perspective. Currently, in the border control in Japan, the passenger arrives and enter Japan. We would check those foreigners, and undesirable people's entrance to Japan is to reject it. That is the major procedure. But first of all, the undesirable people, we could not let them get into the passenger, in the airport, so that the airplane, so they cannot coming in. That is a low cost of border management. That's one approach for the strict approach for the border management. So I have a question to Omagari-san, Mr. Omagari. If the correlation with the people who's rejected getting in, it's the cost it would be for the airplane company. So the people who is expected to be rejected at the entrance, would you welcome such people in your aircraft? As an airline company, when the passenger getting into the airplane, what the information required about the passenger and is whether this passenger is fulfilling the requirement to get into that particular company, that destination country. And the staffs who doing the checkups in the International Airport Transportation Association, we use that guideline, and visa, ESTA, and other necessary document efficaciously met. We check that. So the necessary document, would they have that? Naturally, the destination country, maybe they would commute. So meeting the requirement for the commuting, we also confirm that. Therefore, in the airline companies, the staff using document check sheet is prepared, and the insufficient document, we try to prevent that from happening. And recently, the COVID-19, due to that influence, the requirements for the entering of countries it changed daily. That's expected, so we make sure that we don't miss it, and we were working on it. Especially the PCR, and so the antigen negative evidence is required, so it takes more time than usual. And the second is in the airport, the luggage check. We would do the check. Airline company would check it. If there's something that of concern, safety and security, we check, make sure that person is behaving normally and not of leading any concern. Thank you very much. And now, I think the time's up, but next is, there is one question coming in. I would like to answer that. And the question, the people who's listening to the side event, there's a question, the content of the question is, currently, under COVID-19, the inbound people are decreasing, but the inbound population is increasing in the future. That's not just by statistical figure, but daily life. Would it be like? So I feel that because communicating in foreigners becoming a daily manner, and the crimes conducted by foreigners is no longer a very rare news. So I'm happy to welcome visitors from overseas, but I would like to strictly prevent those people who would commit crime. So I expect that would be managed in the border. I expect that. So for the the border management, is there anything you are considering? Please give me an answer. That was the question. The immigration check and border management, let me answer that question. I will answer that in Japanese now. So Mr. Omagari has mentioned it's related to that, but the foreigners who has problems, should we prevent them from getting into the airplane and so never be able to reach Japan? That is important. So that's the project we're thinking. The people, foreigners who are trying to get into Japan before, so they have to get visa based in the principle. So through those, the embassies and consulates, they would ask for the visa. So the people who's not given without visa, or the countries or areas the visa is waived, the foreigners with issue, if they talk with, if they say that it's for the tourists, then they can just go and come into Japan. It's possible, even if they reach to Japan. If they have issues, and the checkups will be done, and they will be rejected and be deported. However, some of those would not follow the deportation orders, and many people and time is spent for those handling those people. That's the issue. So in order to resolve it, one countermeasures, the passenger APP. So the advanced passenger procedures, we are trying to think that whether this could be introduced so that at the time of the check-in, the boarding pass informations and other information of that particular passengers, they would send that to the immigration check, and we would match up with the blacklist that we have. And if the people could be deported, then we would inform the airline company beforehand to prevent them to get on board. That kind of screening, that is a system we are thinking of. The other thing is, as a system, we are still
thinking about the digitalized visa recognition and certification system, ESTA, which has already been introduced in the US. And if the exempted nationals exempted from the getting a visa certification, if he or she is going to come to Japan, those people can apply or through internet. And if there is any problems, by utilizing APP, even those foreigners who are very difficult to identify, whether the purpose of the entrance into Japan is doubtful or not, this kind of doubtful, suspicious foreigners can pre-screened. So such pre-screening can be possible. And entrance examination will be conducted in a higher level. So that's the idea. So time has come, so I would like to conclude the Q&A session here. So this will the end of the ancillary meeting. So in the end, we would like to receiving the closing remark from Ms. Onoda. Thank you so much to those who gave such informative presentations and to those who were listening. I feel that by listening to each presentation and the discussions that followed in the exchange of opinions, we were able to have fruitful discussions not only on the current efforts but also to possible further border measures. In addition, I have reaffirmed that everyone, both in the public and private sectors, is working hard on the border control in each respective field at the border. On this occasion, I would like to thank all of you who are working so diligently in order to keep the borders safe every day. The border measures related to COVID-19 are causing inconvenience to those who enter and depart from Japan. However, we hope that you understand that these measures are being taken to protect lives. So please understand. As I mentioned in my opening remark, public interest in the border measures is increasing more than ever. We hope that today's side event was helpful in some way in advancing the efforts in each country. The Ministry of Justice will continue to cooperate with the related organizations to take appropriate and prompt border measures, including responses to COVID-19. On this note, I would like to conclude my closing remarks. Thank you very much for your participation today. Thank you very much for joining this ancillary meeting out of a very busy schedule. I would like to convey our sincere appreciation. So today, 5 people who are related to border control of Japan, and we received very precious informative presentations. And the remarks that have been made and the opinions are, kind of an inspiration for us to going forward in terms of further border control. Around the world, there are the threat of the terrorist attacks, and we should never forget that. Therefore, border control will never-ending efforts. We can say we should continue to pursue further border control. Strategies for effective control has to be taken at all around level. So today's discussion will be a helpful and a hopeful event for the further border control in Japan and home and abroad. Thank you very much for attending. This concludes the auxiliary meeting. Thank you so much.